Two. Hey folks, how's it going? Thank you very much for the raid. Oh, my volume's up on that PC. 2 seconds, there we go. He brought me over. Awesome, thank you, Colt as fuck. And hey Jeffrey, good to see you as well. Oh, just run down and got myself a coffee. Don't do it, potty mouth. How would you say that? Coulter's Vug? Oh, Coulter's FVCK. Hi, sell emotes. Hey Lisa, sell the best emotes. While we're chatting, let's quickly grab some music. I always forget to get some music going. There's those awesome emotes. Let's get 80s Tokyo funky lo-fi. Let's see what it sounds like. Yeah, let's go for that. Nice and chill in my ears there, that's what we want. Hope everyone's doing alright, had a good week. Apologies for no streams leading to this point. It's it's been quite an intense week of work. Fingers crossed it's going to ease off next week. Just trying to keep everybody happy. There's still one or two things I need to work on, but it's working on it without people complaining that things are broken and you having to fix them while trying to work on other things. So it's very much firefighting. If you think there's fires cropping up all over the place and I'm having to try and put those out while simultaneously making things that stop fires from happening. It's quite exhausting. But hopefully there's no more reasons for fires, if we're going to use that analogy. So I'm going to turn my attention to building something that doesn't currently set on fire. And that is my silly game. Let's see if my... There we go. It might help if I click the right button, switch over to the code. 1 day till Noise Month. Are you excited? I didn't know there's a Noise Month. Is that a Noise album coming up? I don't think you told me about Noise Month. If you did, maybe I completely blocked it out of my memory. You might have done. Oh, Noise Month is what I call next February because I do one noise album a day for a whole month. This seems to ring a bell. Maybe you have mentioned it. It's been a while since we've chatted, so when I say why, it's been a week, and to me that's a long time. Guess who's back? Hug is back. How's it going, bot? It's good to see you. Hope you're keeping well. Hello. Glad you're able to make it today. I expect you to listen to them all. Can I listen to your noise albums daily while screaming into a void? Is that kind of the best way to listen to them? I'm going to take myself off into a remote area. What did you make in last week's Blender stream? I was still working on the animations for the rock creature. I hit some weird. I was trying to get the animations into Unity, so I made all the animations I wanted. So I made like the movement, 2 idle animations, and an attack animation. So I made 4 animations. I was having some problems trying to get the textures to kind of save and transfer, and I kind of left it there. So I was trying to get into the process, get to the point where I could move the model over into a game engine. That's where it is. So that it was pretty much there. I just wanted to be certain that I could just take this and it's just ready to go. So I need to revisit that. I didn't do a Blender stream this week because work has been intense. 7th of February, Black Metal EP. That's more serious. Oh yes, that's gonna be cool. Looking forward to that. I liked the first track that was put out on YouTube. Listened to it a few times. Very cool stuff. Now, I did review my video from last time briefly to say, okay, what did I do last time? And I think I was just trying to make sure all of these values were saved correctly. So I might have to play it through and just remind myself which values are saving, which ones aren't. But I think I got there. I just can't remember if there's any issues because again I didn't write anything down. And I should really write stuff down at the end of the stream, but I usually end up finishing my streams just kind of tired and just wanting to put my head down. So I never stop for a moment and write up my progress. But as streams get less tiring, hopefully I can just do a, you know what, here's a whole summary of what happened in the stream, and it should be interesting to read and not I sat here staring at the screen trying to work out the code. That doesn't sound good. But we're getting there, we're making progress. My day-to-day job is pretty much staring at the screen, wondering what needs to happen to the code. So let's look at the save game progress. Yeah, so I want to make sure we're at the stage where this object has all the correct values as we progress through the game. If that becomes the case, then I can take these values and dump them into a file. And then the next stage would be to remove them from the file, well, load them from the file into this object on load of the game for people to continue playing where they left off. But I want to make sure this object populates correctly first. Somewhere last week, I don't know when exactly, I wrote a program for my home server where I can dynamically add apps for it, e.g. a cloud storage app, I don't know what else. Just throw it away because it's dumb. Dumb in the sense that I hate handling dynamic stuff and the way I handled it was dumb. That's fair. Sometimes you have to. Yeah, I've written stuff where I've gone, but that is complete garbage. But I know why it's garbage and I know how to make it better. Or knowing that idea just wasn't going to work in the first place and not trying again. But you don't know until you try. Sometimes creating stuff, the only purpose at the end of the day is to find out that it won't work. Well, I've done it plenty of times. I've got so many dead-end functions and bits of code in my day job. A little bit in video game development as well. where I've tried to do something and go, actually, that's not really, that's going to be so hard to manage it that way. And I've refactored a lot of this particular project. Actually, no, that I can see why I did it that way, and it made sense at the time, but it makes more sense and it's more efficient to do it this way, and I just change it. It might be a function that was never going to work. Plot twist, the idea works, I just don't know how to make the idea real. But I do, but I don't, okay. Yeah, sometimes it's easy to conceptualize these and go, okay, here's a prototype, I just don't know how to make this packageable or turn it into something that will be contained. Yeah, can be difficult, but it's good to explore these things. There's so many kind of bits of technology and frameworks and stuff I would like to explore, just to go, okay, what can I do with this? What can I achieve if I explore this? What I'm exploring is not necessarily the end goal, but knowing that I can do that kind of thing goes, well, now I know that this is an avenue and I can interact with these things, and I can now apply this to my toolbox of stuff that will connect in. And one day I know, well, actually, if I know how to load an app into something remotely, that gives me an idea that I can connect these things together. You like the new song? What did you like the best about it? 1 week till full EP. Ooh, I'm not sure I can pinpoint the exact thing I like the best about it. I like the feel. Like typically my enjoyment of metal music is that when I listen to it, do I feel good listening to it? I don't really go into metal music on a technicality. I don't go, oh, I like the way that sounds, or that's the way that's been produced. I just go, well, I like the feel of this. But then that's having a lot of friends who produce metal and all kind of varying subgenres that I listen to so many different people's interpretations of subgenres that I've just kind of go, well, I like listening to it because I like the way I feel when I listen to it. I know what you mean by with refactoring your game a lot, because you build a function, then you build another, which needs to work with the others, but the way you built it at first doesn't work well. Yeah, exactly. You go, if I need this to connect in here, but that's not going to work that way. But if I change it, it's going to be better and will open it up to be pluggable into everything else. Like a lot of this is like, well, I need this thing and this thing to interact, but individually the way they're scripted is not going to work. I need to be able to pass values between them, or I need to reference something else or be called from somewhere else, and ultimately you get to the point where you can modularize everything. So it's like, this thing becomes a self-contained module that does a job, and I can then call this from somewhere else with a particular parameter. You start coding stuff with a specific process in mind. You go, okay, it needs to do this from this to this, and you've got an A to B to C to D process going on, which is great until you start bringing in like a EFG. You go, well, how does the EFG fit into this process? You go, actually, I need to disconnect it and go, well, how can I use this better? It's something I've discussed with my work project as well, where it's like, it was great because we only had one type of input, one type of output, and then as we keep adding outputs we need, it gets complicated till you then look at it and go, well, actually all those outputs can be satisfied by a unified input at an earlier stage rather than doing it at a later stage. And yeah, I'm looking at it frustrated because I want to change it because my life will be easier as soon as I change it, but it takes work to change it. But then the modules eventually rely heavily on each other, which is fragile, yeah. You can easily fall back into that trap. And I go, I've done the exact same thing again. It now, within its own ecosystem, works fine, but then you try and pull it out of it, it doesn't. But that's what I'm trying to do with this particular game, is learn that process. And even try and make systems that I can pull out of this. And even with like a slight bit modification, can work in another game. Like if I develop systems here and understand the best way to handle this system on a more universal kind of application, and go, okay, let's for instance like this timer and this point scoring. Like in principle, that's a pretty simple thing that a lot of games could use. If I make it too specific to this game, then I could have to rebuild it each time. If I make it so I could drop this into any game, even with a slight tweak, then I've set myself up to have a tool I can use later. And it's learning how that kind of stuff works. But then a lot of stuff you make is very narrow use case to begin with, until you go, actually no, this is quite useful by itself. I need to make it more widely usable. And then there's some things you don't need to. You can waste time trying to make something universally useful, and it only ever gets used once. So all that time is going into making it usable and never use it. But you kind of have to make those judgments and go, okay, is this something that I'm going to waste more time on refactoring or more time on rebuilding? Like the sort of again kind of thing. But I think I'm at the stage where I'm happy with this game, that I don't really need to refactor anything. There's stuff that could probably be refactored, but realistically I can look at it and probably build it from scratch better using this as a guide as opposed to using this as a template, if that makes sense. So I go, yeah, that's the way that's working is great, but if I build it with a cleaner pathway, I can achieve the same results without having to change this whole game. So I say ultimately this game was never set out to be anything too complex, which is why it seems like I'm putting a lot of time into a simple game I could have finished by now, because I'm trying to set myself up a good practice before moving on to something else. On that note, let's run this scenes. I want to run through this and make sure it's doing what I think it should be doing, which this needs to populate. Really need to adjust these as well. Once we've looked at this, I'm going to look at the sound, because every time I go to test the game I have to adjust the volume. But yeah, coding's one of those things that the learning curve is pretty shallow to start and then ramps up when you bring in efficiencies and making something readable and universally useful. Music slide is not fixed yet. And so audio in this game is kind of a low priority, which it shouldn't be. Audio in games is one of the most underrated things. And I know this in my core, and yet I'm still considering it a low priority, because you don't think about audio, it just is there, and gives feeling and it adds to the experience, but a lot of people don't think about it because it is just doing its thing. But yeah, I want to see it populate the progress object on the right hand side, and it should only populate at the end of the level or when the sound slider's changed, which it isn't for the sound slider. Without audio, games feel empty indeed. You can make a really cool, fun game and have no music or sound effects, and it's like, oh, I'm not engaged with this at all. Okay, so it's done the first update to this object. Saving in seconds, it saved 125 seconds for completion of level 1, which is element 0. And it's ticked it to say progress has been saved. And I used 2 hints. I think, did I use 2 hints? I didn't actually. I used at least 2 hints. It might have been 2 hints. I should pay attention to that. So 2 hints, progress saved, currency's not a thing yet, game's not complete, volume I'm not storing just yet. Medal achieved, that should go to free, so it's not saving the medal. So that's something that's not happening, so I'll make a quick note of that. I think in my game the sound design will have to compensate for the quality of my 3D models. It can do. Now, as long as the gameplay is fun, as long as the mechanics in the game are fun, you can have the blockiest, crappiest looking game out there, but the experience has to be fun. Saw a video on the sound design. I was so shocked at how people made amazing sound design with simple everyday objects in the mic. Oh yeah, like Foley sounds. Just you want a sound of someone's head exploding or being hit with a bat. You get like a watermelon or something. Put a microphone next to it, whack the watermelon, and you should have a very kind of at least fairly convincing sound of something hard and squishy being hit with a bat. Or yeah, sort of things that like punch hits and stuff like that. And you don't have to download these sounds, you can make them yourself. And certainly if you want something more unique, just a fairly good quality microphone and sort of just everyday objects. Like this microphone I'm using for streaming is actually a mobile microphone. It takes batteries and an SD card, and I can just set it up anywhere and record stuff onto an SD card. But fortunately, it also takes a USB cable. I can plug it in and use it as a standard mic. But if I start doing my own Foley, then I'll probably be taking this mic out on the road with me and go and find stuff. And if I want the sound of people walking through leaves, I can find somewhere that's quite sort of covered in leaves and just set it up and let people walk through. My horror game is quite tricky with bad models, since you can break tension immersion when the player sees a badly model. Yeah, that's true. I think with horror games, a lot of it is visual, so that's unfortunate for that genre. Like the sound design can make up for that, as you say. Like you have like audio that puts you on edge. You've got like low kind of tension music, and sort of the way you can just have like little knocks and sounds that kind of spaced around you, like even like sort of higher pitched tapping noises that sound off in the distance can make a player go, what's over there? Or is there something behind me? Or that the sound alone can really put people on edge. Dog walk, oh yes, dog walkie, okie dokie. I'll see you shortly. Silence is the best tension build, yeah. Yeah, if you, for horror games certainly, if you can really orchestrate, I can't say the word, really kind of design around the feeling the player will go through for the sounds and audio. So that in itself, yeah, that's creating that will take a lot of time and effort to get right. Because if you think, to a certain extent, like if you're playing Minecraft and you're in a dark cave, and you sort of be walking along and you just suddenly hear the sound of one of the mobs in there, that can kind of put you on edge and go, okay, where is it? And get your sword or shield out, or just get ready to defend yourself. And so it's not really much of a horror as much as it kind of go, oh, instant tension, where is it? But any kind of sort of adventure game like that can work with it. A monster in my game is just a script that triggers different audio cues and doors, lights, etc. close to the player. Oh. Well, yeah, that works even better, because you don't have to actually see a monster. And the best monsters you don't really see, because the human mind creates things more horrific than anything can be shown. And if you can help build that in a person's mind. But yes, things like audio cues, doors opening, closing, and lights flickering or coming on or going off. Yeah, it can really mess with a person. And you don't even have to have anything physical. It's just feelings. If you can invoke feelings. But that's something I don't think I could ever really achieve myself. So I'm all credit to you for giving that a go. But then I've not played many horror games to know the key elements and how to get them right. But puzzle games and adventure games, that's something I like, where you kind of have to work things out. I know how to kind of make somebody think. But invoking feelings, I'm not great with trying to invoke feelings into people. Yeah, that's a whole skill. And generally in real life, I just can't really invoke feelings in people. Because I'm a stage actor, an amateur stage actor. But pretty much all my characters are just very two-dimensional. On purpose, of course, because they're never really written as complex characters. Also plan to make an event system where I put triggers around the map, and it might trigger an event like a complete power outage or door slamming the player become dizzy. Ooh. Funny, I don't like horror games. Is it like you don't enjoy horror games in the sense that, well, this is not fun, but you understand them, I suppose, if you're making one? You see them on a technical level, or you just really want to see if you can mess with people's heads, which sounds fun in itself. So my only experience of horror games has really just been Resident Evil. And like, I get scared fast. Okay, yeah, I'm kind of like that. Oh yeah, so I played Alien Isolation. Alien Isolation. That game had me on edge constantly. because you don't really have a weapon. Any weapons you do have are more deterrents than they are combative. Resources are extremely scarce. It is basically a massive game of hide and seek. And you just continuously hide and seek until the end of the game. You just kind of progress a bit more, hide, progress a bit more, hide. And it's knowing when to hide and kind of how to get your timings right and use certain tactics to distract or kind of divert. Like knowing the alien in Alien Isolation is coded to listen for audio cues and visual cues. Like it has no idea where the player is. So you can use that to your advantage. You can throw a flare, that grabs its attention, or you can knock on the wall and run around the corner. It hears the knocking and it looks for the knocking. So the way the alien is coded, there's a small documentary on YouTube about how amazing the coding for the alien is. I like that. For the record, I liked the part of playing with the player, not being played with. Oh yeah, I suppose that's fun. That's fun to go, okay, I'm going to really mess with this person. But then sort of making the game is trying to find that level of messing with somebody for the enjoyment and where they are still enjoying it. Other than, you don't really want to make a player quit. Because even if you want to push them to the point of wanting to quit, they need to have enough incentive to go, no, I won't let this game beat me, and we'll continue. And that'd be quite interesting to achieve. Then I found with Alien Isolation that I was like so on edge for playing it. It's like, well, I need a break from this because I can't keep playing this for too long because it just kind of gets frustrating. And it's not to say that's not a great. It is a great game. You just have to be persistent. And yeah, it doesn't drive me to be persistent with it, but I want to because I enjoy the universe. I like the story. I like the environment. The environment is beautifully done. So if nothing else, I wouldn't mind just nerfing the alien and just casually walking the game kind of thing, just to see the environment. And I've tried nerfing the alien. I found an AI modifier that brings up the alien AI decision trees, and you can kind of modify it if you know what you're doing. And the game broke, so that's annoying. The thing with my game is I need to always keep the player on edge, but also provide senses of safety sometimes, just to keep them playing. Yeah, exactly. You need to give them safe havens. Like, okay, they're safe here. This is fine, and then allow them to then progress a bit further and then feel safe again. And Alien Isolation does that because the thing is with Alien Isolation, even the save points cause tension, because to save, it's not just a click save. To save, it's in the game. You have to go up to a device on the wall, pull like a lever, you have an animation, you have a timeout, and it takes time to save. So you go up to that, pull the lever, wait for the animation to complete, and then you can run off and hide again. But just saving the game is dangerous. Is that, well, you have to make sure that everything is safe around you. The alien is not nearby, I can't hear it. It's all quiet. Pull the lever, wait for the animation to complete, save the game, and then carry on investigating. Because if you save where the alien's nearby, you basically reload the game to an alien killing you. And that game save is screwed. Also need to give them false sense of safety. Yeah, like think, okay, this is fine. You go, no, I wasn't. But yeah, it's finding that balance, because that's any type of game. Like if you fake out too much, then the player loses trust completely. But then you want to be able to catch them off guard, change it up, go, okay, what I thought was the case is not always the case. And then they become suspicious of certain things. And then they get complacent and go, maybe it was only that one time it wasn't safe. And they go, damn it, got me again. What was it? Dead Space. I've actually played a few horror games, now I think about it. Dead Space was another one. I had a necromorph come out of an air vent early in the game. Didn't get one again for a long time. But I was checking every air vent for necromorphs. And eventually go, okay. Like, 1 out of 10 times I had a necromorph. It's probably not going to happen again. And as soon as I relaxed and not checked all the vents for necromorphs, bang, necromorph. So it's okay. So it's all those kind of things. It's kind of towing them along, changing their expectations. But yeah, you really have to kind of play with the player, I suppose. The thing with the event system that I was talking about, the triggers sometimes shouldn't always trigger, so the player can't predict events. Yes, that's good. Yeah, if a game becomes predictable, the player can game the game, if that makes sense. It becomes a pattern. Humans are very good at noticing patterns. So you need to break patterns. And patterns are good if you want your game to be speedrunnable. Funny enough, I was looking into speed runs for Stardew Valley, and that game, even though the game looks like it's random, as in what certain things happen, the game is not random. It's pattern based, and speedrunners have worked out these patterns, and these patterns are guaranteed. So things aren't random; they're just pattern based events. Even like digging dirt up, like clumps of clay. You just hit the ground and you might get a clump of clay, you might not. But originally it was a pattern. Like you take a grid, there was a pattern of where the clay would be every time. That pattern might shift left or right, but once you've found one, you know where the pattern is. People worked it out and were able to be very effective at just farming for certain items that are supposedly random but aren't. But I think the latest update actually did put a random generator in it, so people that got used to patterns had to forget it because the patterns disappeared. But then most of the game is still pattern based. But for the untrained eye, it looks very random. I think so. My kind of aim for sort of game dev genres is probably going to be a little bit skill based, a little bit kind of adventure, a little bit puzzle. Basically, stuff that challenges your mind, but also enriches it. So it's things like, here's a cool experience. Here's a puzzle you need to solve to continue the cool experience. Here's something you need to try and get better at in order to solve a puzzle, in order to continue the experience. And a lot of the games I have are kind of based on that. That's what I personally enjoy. Like, this to a certain extent is skill based. This is, I'd say this is a loose skill based game where it's like learning how much power you need to apply, roughly where you need to point the thing, learning how the rock bounces, how you can best effectively use it. And once you get that kind of knowledge and skill down, it's just kind of a formality to play the game, I suppose. But I will be making later levels require a bit more skill, a bit more challenge, a bit more thinking. So it isn't just throwing a rock at a building, it involves you having to work with something in order to achieve that. But until I got the fundamental game mechanics sorted, I don't want to put any time into adding to the challenge, because I know I could get so wrapped up in that and then you can't even save your progress, which it's a very basic thing of games to do that, and I've not even done that yet. But I'll get there. We know the medal on level 1 hasn't saved. We know the volume sliders aren't saving. We suspect the hint counter is working, because it saved 2 hints prior. So far I've used no hints. I will start counting as soon as we do. Let's take down these crates. Nice. Okay, oh, I can see one up there. Let's see if we can get as many of these squares before having to use a hint. Okay. Let's go hint. So we've used 1 hint. Let's use 1 more hint in that top corner. So we've used 2 hints. It always makes me smile when it bounces off the trees. Oh, come on, just need that last top corner. Got it. So we used 2 hints. The hint counter's gone up to 4, because we used 2 hints in the first level, 2 hints in the second level. We've used 4 hints total. It saved 308 seconds for the second level, and it's recorded a medal of 1, which is bronze, which is correct. So, hints are working, the time log is working. Level 1 is not saving the medal, however, and we're not saving the sound volume. Decided to work on my cloud storage thing, and I return a list of items that are in the directory for me to interact with the files, and my program gave me the option to download a directory. I have to fix it now. I want to see what happens. Yeah. It's I always get intrigued in things. You go, okay, something's not behaving as it should. I want to see why. I want to see if we can push it, what happens. Because it might be, so it's something that would never happen. We don't know that. You never know if something won't happen for sure. Okay, so from this test run, we need to look. First priority is look at why the medal on level 1 does not save. Everything else is its own separate thing. So let's look at level 1. Why does level 1 not save its medal? Ah, interestingly, flicking to this back to level 1 actually loaded it in. Strange. The fact I had to comment about this and just run away is the funniest part. Now it's confusing why it actually loaded medal 3, which is gold medal on the first level. I'm going to have to check that. Because that wasn't there until we restarted level 1. Right. I'm pretty... It's a weird thing, but I'm going to leave that for the moment. I want to make sure the sound levels behave. Let's have a look at how the sound levels work. So it's going from between 0 and 1. We'll move that slider. So ideally what 0.5 is should be the kind of optimal sound level. And then if a player wants it louder or quieter, they can adjust it. Because that is pretty loud. Now, because this is literally just I don't want to be fiddling around with min-maxing of these numbers. Do I just change the sound audio file so it sounds a good volume at 0.5? Because as it is, 0.016 seems loud enough for the music. Sup neighbour, I'm back. Welcome back. Hope you had a good dog walk. Okay, as we're thinking about technicalities here, shall we try and store these values? It was okay. Cool. Pretty uneventful. So we have Game Progress Manager. So we've got the sound volume in there. There's the options, there's the options. Options menu sets background music volume. So you know my 24-hour noise release? Yes. It just goes 24 hours, yes. I listened to approximately about 5 seconds of it. On Bandcamp I can see how many people listened and how far in they quit. Really? That's pretty cool stats. There is one person on this earth that has listened to it in full, in one go. Oh wow. I want to know who, yeah. Who did this to themselves and do they need help? That's incredible. I take it wasn't you. You didn't click on it and walk away or forget to turn the sound on. No, not me. And if it was me, your own listeners don't count. Okay, that's good. Yeah, because otherwise you end up skewing your figures. And I definitely have no alt accounts. Interesting. Like even all my separate bands are profiles on the same account. I can't follow my dubstep with my noise. Okay, yeah, that's fair, I suppose. I mean, I could separate them all with different emails, but I had to check every email separately. It's a hassle. That's what he said. Yeah, don't blame you. I've got multiple email addresses for different things, but a lot of them point back into one email address. So ultimately, I only have one inbox, but it's a hassle to try and manage them otherwise. Especially if I want to reply back to something with that email address, it becomes a little bit more difficult. I know there's some people that sort of have different email addresses for pretty much everything. That's a lot to manage. Because yeah, if you have like a different email address for every online shop, just in case that shop leaks your data, which understandably, cool, they only have one of your email addresses. I have 32 Bandcamp profiles. Wow. Yeah, you don't want 32 emails. Oh, generate money. Nice. Yeah, it's nice to get a little bit of money for your work. Some more than others. That's cool. I think when I eventually release this game, it's probably going to be donation based as well. Wait, let me check how much money I made with my noise. It's funny. Cool. Yeah, I wouldn't release this game for a set cost, but I'll certainly release it on something like Itch for a donation. And people don't want to donate, they can play it for free. The next project will be a set cost though, because there's going to be a lot involved with that. €3.86 since 2017 total. Fair. That's something. People have paid money. That's before tax. Well, down tax. Yeah, take away Bandcamp, 10% cut, PayPal transfer cost. Yeah, this is on Bandcamp Friday. Then the 10%'s not on applied at Bandcamp Fridays. You're probably around €2.90 or something. Got a file upload to work. Nice spot. That's gonna be a relief. Can't remember with noise. Yeah, it's always a great relief from the feeling to finally get a process working. You're going to buy 24-hour release and pay €1 a minute. That's €1,440. Wow. Yeah, if I had thousands and thousands to spare, I would probably do that for fun of it. Unfortunately, I have very little. Glasses are dirty. So the thing of having ring lights when you're streaming, you do notice when your glasses aren't clean a lot quicker than usual. That is good enough. Same. The glasses, I mean. Yeah. I plan on doing a split EP with Coulter's Fax solo project at some point. I made a joke art with his dog today in 1 minute. Nice. That'd be cool. What does the other Colt do? Does he is metal as well? Oh, see a message. Nice. That's a cool one. Yeah, black metal is for my black metal. I'll show you the OG dog. Ooh. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, it's definitely some kind of bull breed, isn't it, by the looks of it? Still need to make an emote for him for his dog, and his other one ready. Oh, I have his other one. Oh, nice. Labrador boxer mix. Ah, yeah, I can see that. Yeah. I was thinking kind of Labrador, but the face isn't Labrador. That's not a face of a Labrador, but the rest of the dog is very much Labrador. Cool. But yeah, makes sense for a boxer. Sound volume. So I'm thinking, do I... So I want to be able to take these two values and save it into these two values when these two values here change. Now, one method I'm thinking is that I grab this object from here, and whenever these values get changed here, pass them into this object. Now, is there a more effective or cleaner way of doing that? Because at the moment this object's very passive. Like, it doesn't do anything, doesn't run anything. It's literally holds two values which you can set and you can return. Should it be the case that as this is an active object, this does actually does the work? Or should it be the options menu that does the work? At the moment it's grabbing the background music and the sound effects objects. Should it also grab the game progress object as well? Because when you set the volume, it's saving it into the volume. It's also saving it into the background object to adjust the volume. So this is, I'm already seeing, is this kind of got redundant processes? But then the sound volume object is kind of the active sound volume, whereas this is purely for saving the sound volume as a value onto a file. Whereas the game actively uses this value, whatever this value is it uses. The game does not use this value, and the only time it interacts with this is to save it or to load it. So I feel there's not necessarily a redundancy there. Yes, the game could look at this to work with the volume, but it does keep it separate at the moment. That the game works with this value, but then saves it back into this object. And this options menu is the driver. In which case then, shall I just put the game progress into here? Let's do that for now. If I think of a better way later, we can always change it. But it's not too messy. It's not going to be any messier than it already is. Let's put it that way. So this is pulling the value from this object, save it into the slider. It then stores in the background music object and the sound effects object, so you can use later when the player does decide to change those volumes here. So let's do that. Let's so because this is set, these should really be private, to be honest. So these two things here should be private because they're not. No, these two objects here should be private. Because they're not provided by me. Let's have a look. Let's go back to here. Yes, that says none. But that says sound effects. So that could be blank. That could be left blank. Because that means if I drop this options menu onto a fresh level, I don't have to connect these objects to this object. It just looks for it and then adds it. And the thing is, if I create a level that does not have a background music object or a sound effect object, then realistically I should put some error code in to go, well, you can't change the volume then. Doesn't matter what you slide it, not going to work. So let's do that. Let's make these two private because let's go none. So these two objects don't actually have something in there now. But the slider, because that's part of this. The options menu is part of that. Sound volume is pulled in anyway. So let's go back. Let's go none. So it doesn't need to have one assigned. Now we can go into here. Grab those two objects. Put it down here. And go private, because these are only going to be accessible in here. But also we want to make a private game progress. Private game progress. So it kind of makes this if statement redundant because they're going to be null. But I've set it so they're going to be null now. So we don't need to be doing any checks. We know for certain they are null. So we need to do awesome. Okay, I think that should work then. Oh, it's going to be Game Progress Manager. Ah, he's back. Welcome back, Lisa. I still sell emotes. Still sell the best emotes. Now, Game Progress Manager. So I don't really need the Game Progress Manager. Just the game progress object. Okay, we'll see how that works. Inside that menu. Turns out writing a file explorer that is accessible from a HTML page is harder than you think. Ah. But I would love to learn a bit more about controlling stuff through web pages and having stuff fed back to it. I want to basically learn a bit more web interactive stuff. I know basic ASP.NET with C#, but I want to be able to have something a bit more interactive. But I will be learning soon, thankfully. And the things you can do with web apps and stuff. Options menu script. I hope if I save that. Come back to here. Cool. There you go there. So I wonder now then, will that actually do? Actually, it won't do anything because I'm not told it to do anything with it. As long as that's not null set volume. So yeah, that's fine. Because if it couldn't add something, then it won't actually set the volume. So that's good there. That's good there. Probably need to do the same thing for the game progress in case there's a fail there for some whatever reason. Oh, Copilot comes in there. Nice. Game progress not null. Game progress dot record sound volume. I spelled that wrong, haven't I? Oh well, it's in there now. Could probably simplify this even more and just go private void save volume just replace that with this. I have a slight feeling that the code I just wrote can be classed as a war crime, but hey, it works. Isn't that most code? That's the key thing. If it works, it works. Code that works is code that's good enough. It's not great code, but it's better than code that doesn't work. Right, so we want to see these numbers here change. The numbers did not change. Let's put some logs in there. Let's put a log in just before here. Debug. There we go. Thank you, Copilot. So volume, sound effects, BG, okay. Okay, it's setting it there. Well, it's getting to this point, it's grabbing that. Is this null? If that's null, then that part's not working. So debug. It's scary how Copilot knows pretty much what I want to put in there. I suppose it's logic, isn't it? It's like game progress found, recording volume. The fear is with auto-completing stuff like that, is that eventually if it stops working, you could be stuck on how to do things. Yeah, that seems to be the key thing. It's not. So game progress isn't finding it here. So what we want to do the resources class allows you to find and access objects including assets. Now it is an asset. So game progress. Game progress. Scriptable objects game progress. Now that is an asset. So assets, scripts, scriptable objects, game progress dot asset. It's a string path. Does it need the whole? So is it because it's not scriptable space objects? It's scriptable objects without a space. Try this. A slight feeling in the code I just wrote. Oh yeah, there's Warcraft. Yeah, I've written some horrendous bits of code before. Fortunately, I've been able to make it prettier shortly afterwards. But does it need its full path? So assets, scripts, scriptable objects. I now have to refactor everything because I didn't take paths into account. Oh no. Might need to look into this resources.load and see how this works, because I wasn't quite aware of this, but Copilot recommended it. So let's see how it works and understand it. Because if I can utilize this, I don't even have to have an object in the scene, as long as I have it as a an asset. Then I can use it. Right, there's 2 pages I'm going to look at. One, which is the Unity reference guide, and the second one is discussion on how to use it. Like I can browse and download things from any path, but uploading to any path doesn't work. Because I was lazy. Yeah, you're focused on the download part of the feature. So string path. It's path to the target resource to load. Resources.load. Type of game object is game object instance. Prefab named enemy located in any resources folder in your project's assets folder. Oh. So you can search by string. Because where I'm defining the object type here, you could also search for a name in all of your folders. I suppose it's probably not going to be as efficient as giving it direct pointers as to what you're grabbing. Okay, what do people say on the forums for it? I'd like to know when you use resources.load and when you use scriptable object to load data like sounds, textures, sprites. You have one class called, for example, database singleton, contains scriptable objects or functions that load assets, or prefer to call resources.load or drag and drop scriptable objects whenever you need them. Someone says never use them. That's useful, thank you for that. Resources.load is still very useful for loading prefabs that are common in many scenes. However, I put it behind my own prefab folder so that I can load prefabs by references such as item SKUs, and I cache the objects that I load via the resources.load. It's preferably perfectly viable to have a scriptable object with prefab references. However, as long as resources.load is still there and works, why go through the extra layer of indirection and possibly having to create more custom code like editors or logic to populate the prefabs in a scriptable object from a directory structure. Again, viable but not necessary. Either approach is completely acceptable. That's a good comment. I always find like gatekeepers in coding. Nope, you must use this function. This function is trash. You never use this function. Well, that function exists. Yes, there might be better functions. There might be more efficient functions. But a function exists. Use it. Then you learn why the other function is slightly better. So this person goes on to say that they were thinking about depreciating resources.load at one point, but decided against it because there's good reasons to keep using it. This was back in 2018. So clearly it still exists within the latest version of Unity. Handy for loading files such as JSON and such. Those files are going to be embedded. Those files can be embedded with the app. Usually those end up eventually coming from a server, but keeping them as resources works for development and up until that point. Best practices for the resources system, don't use it. A strong recommendation is made for several reasons. Use of resources folder makes fine-grained memory management more difficult. Improper use of resources folders will increase application startup time and length of builds. As the number of resources folders increases, management of the assets within those folders becomes very difficult. Resource system degrades a project's availability to deliver custom content to specific platforms. Eliminates the possibility of incremental content upgrades. Proper use of the resources system. There are two specific use cases where resources system can be helpful without impeding good development. Resources is an excellent system for during rapid prototyping and experimentation because it's simple and easy to use. However, when the project moves into full production, strongly recommended to eliminate it. Okay. So I tapped the lyrics of Baladan to Cold as Fuck as my opening message in your stream of today, and you thought I had a stroke. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair, I suppose. Okay, so general advice is we don't use this and we find another way of grabbing that object. So if that's the case, I won't look into it further, and we'll do it another way. And we'll grab the manager instead. Oh, excuse me. So I've been drinking fizzy stuff. So do I want to find my tag? Now if I'm grabbing the manager here, so game progress manager, let's have a look at this script. So we're having load sounds, set sound. So I could grab this object and just run set sound. We could try that instead. So rather than game progress, let's load a game progress manager. No, it is going to be game progress manager. Yeah, game progress manager. Turns out no refactor needed. I just forgot to add the save location when saving the uploaded file, so I kept saving to root. Ah, it's always the simple thing, isn't it? I should most definitely refactor it. This might be the worst thing I've ever written. Set sound volumes. Yeah, if it's sloppy and it works for now, at least you know it does the thing, and you can look at it and look at why or how you can make it better at doing the thing. But if you don't even have something that works, then you have to work out the working part first. I say it's about every go to right. Yeah, there's some horrendous stuff in here. Right, game progress manager. I need to make a tag for this. Right, let's go to the actual object of it and tag it as a game progress manager. And that's saved. And that asks game tag of game progress manager. And that'll be the only object that has that tag. No matter what it gets renamed to, it's always tagged. Okay, so you'll grab that as a tag, store it, act upon it. Far simpler than trying to work out a new function, which is an old function. A function that's new to me, but a function that's very old to Unity, and that the community says, don't touch it. We know how finding objects with tag works. And it saves me having to drag and drop it into stuff. So let's give this a go then. Let's find the, where's the scriptable objects, game progress. So we want to see these numbers here change. Yeah, go look at that. Cool. Okay, so that's putting it in there. So out of everything that I've tried to implement, it's knowing why this doesn't set as actually store the medal the first time you load it, but does seemingly the second time. And the only way to know that is to reset this. Do I have a function for that? I can close that because I'm happy with it. Sound volume I can close because I'm happy with that. End level. Oh, I did have that function there, but that is just at the top there, isn't it? So I could comment that out, because that's not actually doing anything. And comment the entire function out. Don't need it, for now at least. Save that. Game values. Don't think I need that at the moment. So medal achieved. Could probably do with having a function. Oh, here's the reset. Reset progress. Where's that used? Okay, reset game progress in the game progress manager. So that means if you want to like wipe and start again, you run this function and it will just wipe the save file. So the way I set this up is that -1 on the medals means that the level isn't even available to play. So therefore you can't get a medal. So -1 means you can't get a medal. 0 means you can get a medal but I haven't. 1 means you've got bronze, 2 means you've got silver, 3 means you've got gold. So it kind of acts like a level tracker as well as a achievement tracker. Because of course if you've earned a medal you must have unlocked a level to play the level. Like you can't achieve a medal without having the level available. So it makes sense for me to work with that way. So we got update level progress. So this is where I'm setting best level time, level achieved, level medal achieved. Current level number equals get medal index. So I could do with monitoring this process here. Probably it would be worth me turning that into a function. Rather than writing to it directly. So we have a function that kind of manages. So a function that takes in a level number and then takes in a medal index. So that returns a int that requires an int. So we take two integers current level -1. Oh, because it's a 0 based array. So level 1 is actually 0 on the array, which makes sense. So get a current level number. If level number is less than or equal to 0, or level number is greater than the amount of levels, means there's a problem, it's not a natural level. Otherwise we move on to getting the container, finding out what medal has been awarded, and then passing that on to that. So let's make a quick function in game progress for so records sound volume. Yeah, I'll leave that spelling mistake there. Let's write a quick function here just to make it look a bit tidier. So public void, because we don't need a value coming out. Record medal and I need an int level and int middle. Yeah, middle equals level equals middle. Save that. Go back to here. We go write a new version into here. So game progress. Dot record middle. It's close. We don't have the word achieved, and that is -1. Doesn't look a lot better, but as a function, I can probably do the same for this area for the best times. It just looks a little bit better that I'm running a function passing the values rather than writing directly into the variable. Now if I want to put additional logic, I can then. Let's do one for best times. Level best times as well. Okay, Copilot predicted that. Record best time. So take the level, take the time. Is time afloat? I think time's afloat. Okay, that is afloat there. And probably make another function to do the if statement as well. So we call best time. So current level number -1. Game values dot time in seconds. So it's pretty much the same line of code, but again, it means I can apply logic if I need to. Now I could go one step further now. I'm gonna hit the hay. Best of luck with the game. Thank you, bots. Good to see you. I hope you have a good evening, and I hope to see you next time. Thanks for stopping by. Game values time, game values get time in seconds. So that function there gets that. So that's current time. So current time basically should be passed into there. And because I'm passing that in there, I can actually put this entire thing into that function now. So there is a reason behind the madness. So I pass this in, but I want to actually do this check. in the function. So we remove that because we're already inside that. So time, this is current time, that becomes level. That becomes level. There we go. That looks a bit cleaner when we put it inside the function. It means we can actually drop this if statement from here now. And that kind of lines up this bit at the top here. So probably do with let's make life a little bit easier. Go int level index. Okay, yeah. Use smarty pants. Copilot, so level index. Do that. Do that. Do that. So I'm checking for fun how much tracker sites have. Biggest ones including porn sites. I checked for science. The most other big streaming sites like Kick have between 5 and 10. Twitch have 85. Oh wow. Okay, how many trackers a site has? Yeah. I suppose a lot of it's kind of trying to gauge what people are watching. Twitch is very much about the data, isn't it? It's Amazon. They want to track all the data. Like what quality you're watching in, what kind of content, where you're from, what can we sell to you. Get Medal of War times. If index is less than that, or that. If greater than that, or less than that, get the time. If not, out of range. Okay, so yeah, that's just your container. So it'd be interesting to know and let's go back to that. So get the times. Oh yeah, because the medal rewards times is an array of time sets. So it gets the time set, takes it there. Then we'll find out what medal was won on that time set. So get the medal index. So I wonder if it's storing the medal index. It's not pulling it at this stage, which is why it showed the next time I loaded the level. So when the index is calc medal 1, which happens on the medal award. So when the level is complete, it should do it there. So level complete calculates it, but then does this kick in? When does this kick in? Yeah, I wonder if these are out of sync then, because this does update progress, but does this do it before this happens? Middle sprite. Sprite's not actually needed until this point. Yes, this is where the two processes get out of sync. So I suppose that code doesn't really need to come into play until about there. So that means it grabs the medal award times, then uses it, grabs the sprite, and then uses it. That makes more sense. So maybe if I calculate 1, so that pulls that, which is fine. So I'm wondering whether this needs to go, if the index is 0, I wonder if this sec time needs to be a global. So put it up here, private int sec time equals 0. Started Twitch on Brave and it's already on 24 trackers. Wow. So are they mostly like advertising trackers? Jeffrey opened Pornhub at the same time. It had 6. I was 13 now. Ooh, 11 p.m. I wonder if I should put a for loop into it. I don't want the game to crash. So if medal index is 0, if it's less than 0 and greater than 3, return 0. Fair. If middle index is 0, middle index no 0 in middle index. Do I log a warning? I suppose I can log a warning. Well, I could just probably put a while in. So while middle index equals 0, let's take that out there. Twitch now has 27 trackers. Pornhub is 21. Twitch is 23 after refresh. They're close in the race. No, I'm going to try this. It's probably not the best way of doing this. Why do they hit build? I'm so used to doing that work. Yeah, so it will stick itself in a while loop until there's a value. Let's run this through. Let's put a little bit of sound. It needs some sound here. Yeah, I'll play this through and test it. Set this to 0 so we know it's definitely working. Yeah, once I've tested this, I'll be happy for the night. Next week we'll look at saving these values into a file. If I don't do it before, of course. I might have a sudden motivation to look at file saving. So, I'm not sure if you're aware about the Online Safety Act in the UK, where we have to verify our age to use certain services by providing a photo. I'm not sure if that's has that happened over different countries in Europe? That says 1. It should say 3. Why does it say 1? So the UK's made a lot of websites have to ask people if they're in the UK for age verification. Otherwise, the UK would block that website. I did not behave as I expected. It behaved better. Maybe if it is 0, it needs to run. It won't know what to run. Yeah, I'm going to have to think about how that works. But it's nearly there. It's just making sure the timings on that's better. Okay. Yeah, that's what I was going to do is remove these debugs. Porn is really weird. In what sense? Just generally the industry? Or the generally what it is in itself is just a weird concept. A performative display of people who are always doing something that's natural behind closed doors. It's not for me. That's fair. It's one of those things that sort of some people it really kind of engages them. Other people's that this is not something I particularly enjoy watching. I like the fact there's a weird obscure fact. You know that pandas famously don't like mating. They can't be bothered. generally not interested half the time. I've heard of in efforts to try and get pandas to mate, they actually played video of pandas mating to pandas in captivity to go, look, this is what we want you guys to be doing. And the pandas still didn't do anything, so they weren't interested in panda porn. Yes, I know that story. Yeah, the problematic thing is when younger people see it and go, this is an instruction manual for how I need to live my sex life. And then they start having it and go, this is not how it was. I saw a video and a woman did all these weird things. What do you mean that women don't do these things in real life? I suppose with lots of things like this, so can't always take what you see in media to be real life. It's a fantasy. This is not an instruction to live your life. I don't judge. People can watch if they want to. Porn is really weird. We are now trying to see how weird it can get. Some things are very disgusting. Yeah. Yeah, I think I read somewhere that typically if you can think of it, there's bound to be somebody that finds it a fetish. Yeah. Found mayonnaise fetish people. Yeah. If you can think of a thing, there's bound to be someone who finds it sexually arousing. Special hot dog. Yeah. I did also see a fact that studies have found bread with a dick. What? Studies have found that sort of kinks and fetishes are typically passed down from parent to child in some genetic sense. I'm not sure. Hopefully, not in a social sense. So if you think of it in a disturbing way, that if somebody has a particular kink or fetish, there's a high chance that they're genetically disposed to it, and their parents might have it as well. So that's a good feeling to know, isn't it? Or it can be just a random mutation or situation where this person likes to put their dicks in pieces of bread and call them hot dogs. It's a weird one. But yeah, I know generally people and food can be a weird one. But then there's women can earn a lot of money by doing weird things with food. Hey Carl, yeah, you're coming at the wrong time for the chat. Why on earth is this chat? Also, hello. Yeah, Jeffrey and Lisa are looking at website trackers, comparing different video streaming services. And of course, when you think about video streaming services, so adult entertainment is certainly one of them. Found something without hits. Bagpipes. No bagpipe porn. You're probably looking on the wrong site. Twitch is up to 40 trackers now. Wow. There's bound to be a very Scottish niche site that has bagpipes. It possibly like sort of bags with bagpipes or something. There's typically if if you can think of it, someone has a fetish for it, and there's probably a website for it. But I'm not going to ruin my Google searches finding out. But how's it going, Carl, anyway? We're on the topic of what we're streaming. I've pretty much got to the point where I can create a save state for the game. I just need to actually save it now. So I can create the state, I just need to record it into a data file and then retrieve it from a data file. I don't understand the reason people want to watch others have sex. I'm doing good, glad to hear. Yeah, it's one of those things. Some people kind of find it interesting, some people don't. And then there's people that really can't do anything without it, and they get lost without it, which is unfortunately becomes an addiction. I don't understand porn, yeah. Yeah, so you can survive perfectly fine without it. These are sensible, yes. Yeah, not every day you hear that. Game is coming along well, yeah. So I think once I've got this save state working, I think that's the fundamental parts of the game. That's the fundamental parts done. Then I can work on making it. No, the main menu's fine. So I just need to create a load game, save game, and then just create more content. Oh, and the sound volumes I need to work on, because the sound is way too loud, and you pretty much have to put the sound on 1% to make it bearable. That's the only thing. I decided to drop the engine and code a game myself from scratch. Worst decision ever, but I'm all into it. You set yourself up to a huge task, but well done for giving it a go. Yeah, I'd like to one day make something complete from scratch. I briefly read up on making games for the Game Boy, and I decided let's work on PC games first, and then I'll look at possibly making Game Boy compatible games. Because to make a Game Boy game, you kind of have to write in assembly, or you can write in C. But there's no engine, effectively. There is the Game Boy Studio, which kind of works like an engine in some ways, but it's more just a set of libraries that you can call. But because it has libraries, then you're using more resources, and you would never really run on original Game Boy hardware as easy. But if you're just running it in emulators, the emulator will work fine. So yeah, you want something that will run on original Game Boy hardware, you have to program in assembly or C, which is a lot. So maybe one day, I would love to be able to write for an old 16-bit or 8-bit console. For the nostalgia factor. So I did start looking into C programming when I was younger. Thinking, oh, maybe I can use like things like OpenGL to make graphics. And I read a book on it and go, okay, this is a bit complicated. And left it for about, let's see, at least 20 years? 20 years before I actually decided, you know what, let's, now I know C#, let's see what I can do in C# and use an engine. So it's become far easier to create a game with my coding knowledge and just learning the engine and not have to learn the coding as well. Using OpenGL now, it's hard work, but got a cube rendering. Nice. I need to dig the books out. I got OpenGL book and a C book on my bottom shelf, which has a number of things in front of it. But maybe I'll pull it back out and have it read at some stage. But I did intend to at one stage. It was given to me by an old friend of mine that worked for a game company. And said, well, these are the books that helped me get going. I'm now onto more complex things. I don't need them anymore. Here's my old books. Have a read. And if you make something, let me know and I will pass it on to my manager and stuff and see if we can get you in the company. But this was some time ago. I'm using C# and a library called OpenTK, which is a wrapper for binding OpenGL functions to C#. Since you usually use C++. Cool, I think I've heard of OpenTK. Stayed at 21, Twitch now has 47 trackers. That's enough for today. Good research, Jeffrey. And Lisa. This is the kind of research we like. No bagpipe porn, but mouth harmonica porn. That is not a stat I was particularly needed, but I feel richer for it. But yeah, I'm sure if you search hard enough, you'll find it. This porn journey confirmed once again that it isn't for me. I do think something's very funny, like mouth harmonica. They played harmonica during intercourse. Oh, I guess this gives me a division in my mind. They weren't great at it. I've seen it joked about, like, you know, so people can have things around their mouths as kind of like almost like punishment, torture, pleasure thing, but actually strapping in a harmonica to someone's mouth instead. And then they're just kind of breathing heavily through a harmonica. I'm assuming that's probably similar to what was in there. But I've only seen it written as a joke. I've not heard of it about people actually filming that. Yeah, there's some weird stuff out there. I'm sure half of it isn't supposed to be serious. It surely can't be serious. It's just, well, you know what, let's make a funny video, but everyone's got their clothes off. That's what you hope anyway. Alright, on that bombshell, I think I'm going to wrap the stream up. Apologies, Carl, sort of not going to be much more content here. I got to work out some timings between different functions, because one thing runs before the other thing. It's supposed to be the other way around, but they're both independent, so I don't really want to attach the functions. I just want them to run in the right order. Also found a man eating a big block of cheese during the deed. No, not even I could. I like a big block of cheese, but I don't think that could be a thing. Can understand if people actually watch that to masturbate or just also laugh. It's got to be to laugh, surely. Yes, we do chase you away. There are people who sleep with cars, so yeah, it's true. There's people who've become very, very close to their cars. If they do need it because of a specific fetish, then weird for watching that. Yeah, true. Both the cheese and the mouth harmonica. I think it was the American cheese. That's even worse. It was a good English cheddar. That I think in some cases a good piece of cheese could probably rival the whole act anyway. Is that? Am I in the mood for this, or should I just eat a big block of cheese? Like, you wouldn't necessarily need both. So yeah, there's people out there that enjoy a lot of things, and good for them. I don't know Lisa or Jeffrey, but I know they do on Friday nights. Yeah, I don't question Jeffrey's motives or interest. Yeah, what you two get up to in your own time is perfectly fine by me. So if you want to spend your Friday evenings watching people eat cheese and play harmonica. You don't know yet. You know I don't like porn and watch the real weird shit. Good to know my reputation. Yeah, you've set a bar now. This is what people will come to expect. And because of all Twitch's trackers now, I'm sure that's logged in somewhere. This is the bar. Well, I'm going to switch over to my full camera because we're not doing any more coding now. My brain has not got the energy to think of magic words that make the computer go beep boop. So we shall save that and close. Thankfully today I was off work, so I didn't have to make a computer go beep boop during the whole day, just the evening. It's been a good stream, I enjoyed it. Again, it's sad that I haven't been able to stream for the beginning of this week, but I'm glad I got to stream tonight. We have nothing more than the weird conversations. But I'm going to log off now and leave you all with those interesting discoveries. But I should be back on Monday. So whatever you folks are up for, I say I'm happy for Minecraft. I'm happy to switch out the game. But fingers crossed, Monday isn't a complete meltdown of fixing fires left, right, and centre at work, and I can come home and just be happy to log on and chat to you all again. Bye everyone, have a good weekend. Thank you, Carl, good to see you. Hope you have a good weekend as well. And yeah, I'll be back on Monday and do more Unity stuff on Friday as usual, as we love doing that. But yeah, hope you have a good night. Enjoy the rest of your Friday, whatever you have left of it. Enjoy your weekend, and I'll be back on Monday. So I'll see you then. Bye. Have a good night. Yeah, thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Jeffrey. Thank you, Carl. Thank you, Bob, for hanging out, and thank you for Weather, because you're awesome. I will watch Scrubs. Good choice. Love Scrubs. I haven't watched Scrubs for ages. No more porn. Yeah, you're all porned out now. You've had your fill. So yeah, have a good night. I'll see you then. Good night.